I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed. Next up, we have the approval of our draft minutes for our regular meeting, which was held September 8th of 2021. Thank you very much, Mary. 5 pages this time. I think that's a record, which is great. And we covered a lot of issues and details and whatnot. And I could find nothing wrong or in need of correction. But if anybody else has found anything, now's the time to bring that up. And if not, I would entertain a motion that we accept the minutes as drafted.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Candy, I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next up, we have the council reports, president report. We are having a virtual meeting here tonight held via Zoom, thanks to Mary Johnson, who's the host. And what we ask is that everybody mutes their microphone until it's time to be called upon to say something or to make your presentation, and that way we can keep everything going in an orderly manner. If someone does need attention, if they can wave or do something to draw our attention to them, we'd be glad to do that and address their concerns at that time. We also have outgoing correspondence, our letter for the land, sea, and air regarding the Agua Dulce Airport agenda requirement was sent out September 9th. And we had miscellaneous incoming and webmail concerning Drill Road street sign, which was referred to Public Works, generator usage, potential grow house. Whoever has concerns, again, and I'm sure Officer Martinez will bring it up, but anybody who has anything, any suspicious activity, 8 people in a van that pop out at 2 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning, they all head out on that van on a regular basis. You want to notify the Sheriff's Department at their new website that they set up strictly for this. It's at marijuana tips at lasd.org. And if you missed that, you can get that off of the agenda, which is on our website. So the other thing was regarding the filming procedures, and those were referred to Film LA. At this time, this brings us to the Secretary report. And Mary, if you have anything to report, now's the time for that.
The only thing I've got is I was able to resolve the web hosting. We paid for a 2-year renewal at $131.88 and ended up getting that refund of $15.99 for the monthly fee that they just started us with. So
okay,
we are good for 2 years, and we've got that refund back.
So every 2 years, that's as long as they renew at that same rate. That's about what we're looking at. Correct. Fantastic. Thank you for handling that, Mary. We appreciate that. Next up, we have the Treasurer's report.
And I can give that to you.
Okay.
We've got no change in the election balance of $2,439.
Okay.
And then in our general account, we started with $15,677.19. We got our web hosting renewal fee of $131.88, a credit of $15.99 for that monthly charge that we weren't supposed to get. I paid the State Farm insurance liability for $249.96, and that leaves us an ending balance of $15,311.34 for a combined total of $17,750.34.
Okay, fantastic. The Association of Rural Town Councils had a meeting in September. They discussed a few things. Does anybody have anything to report on that Association of Rural Town Councils meeting they would like to bring before the Agua Dulce Town Council here? Now would be the time to do that. If not, the other items that are concerning, I know of none, unless somebody else has any that pertain strictly to the administrative portion of this meeting, which I'm sure everybody's here for the general portion. But as soon as we conclude this administrative portion, of the meeting, we'll take a short break and then open up for the general meeting. So at this time, if nobody has any other information to bring forward to the council, I'm going to adjourn this administrative meeting, and we will pick it up at the general meeting in about another 5 minutes. Hope to see everybody there. May the Algodossi Town Council meeting please come to order. At this time, I would like to ask everyone to stand while Lou Vince leads us in the flag salute.
Hello, everyone. All right, please place your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Lou. All right, we appreciate that. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody here to our meeting tonight. Again, I want to remind everyone that as far as our virtual Zoom format, all we ask is that you mute your microphone, which is in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, until you're called upon to speak, and that way we can keep everything in order and keep the meeting moving right along. We've got quite a bit to cover tonight, and we hope to get through it all. So at this time, without any more hesitation, I'm going to have the agency reports. And first up, if he's here, is Officer Holman from California Highway Patrol. We haven't seen him in a while, so we're going to pass him off unless he shows up later on. And next up, we have Los Angeles County Sheriff Resident Deputy Martinez. Are you here, Orlando?
I think Deputy Martinez is here.
Okay. Just having a hard time making a good connection, maybe?
If you're trying to speak, Deputy Martinez, you might be muted. Do we want to come back to Deputy Martinez?
Yeah, we can do that. Is he on a call-in, or was he actually on a computer? Well, whatever. We'll come back to him.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Los Angeles County Fire Department, Community Service Representative Maria Greikamp. Maria, are you with us here tonight?
Yes, I am here.
Wonderful.
And Deputy Martinez, you might check your laptop settings to make sure that you didn't mute your laptop too, because I've done that before.
Oh boy.
Okay, for the month of September, we had a total of 48 responses. 26 of those were medical calls, and 23 of those patients were transported. We did have 3 fires. We had a trash fire. We had a 9-acre brush fire, the Escondido incident. No structures were threatened, and the cause is under investigation on that one. And then we had a vehicle fire with $11,000 worth of damage. And we had 1 gas leak with no damages on Darling Road. And that is it for the month of September.
Wonderful.
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Maria? If not, we'd like to thank you for being here tonight and giving that report, and look forward to seeing you next month.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we do have, is Officer Martinez with us? Orlando?
There we go. I see him.
Okay. All right. So at this time, we have Los Angeles County Sheriff Resident Deputy Martinez. There you are right there, front and center. Can you see us? We see you. You see your lips move, but we don't hear anything.
We don't hear anything out of you. We see you.
Yep. Can't hear a thing. All right, we'll come back to you in just a second if you can work on that. I think we're going to go to the trustworthy Acton Agua Dulce Library report from librarian Jim Wall. Jim, are you with us? Yes, you are.
I am.
You have the floor.
Thank you. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. Just a good, glad to hear. Things still going well at the library. We're still offering a steady stream of activity kits for the kids and even some adult ones that you can come by and pick up. They're generally all matched with some sort of virtual online program. So feel free to come by and check those out. And then the other big thing we've got going on right now is our annual bookmark contest. Kids in grades K through 12 can come in, pick up an application, or you get the form on our website, lacountylibrary.org. You design your own bookmark, turn it in, and it's entered into a contest. The grand prize winners are selected by the Board of Supervisors, and they're actually printed up on bookmarks that people can pick up from the library. So unless anyone's got questions, those are our announcements.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Jim at this time regarding the library? Well, thank you, Jim. We appreciate your efforts to show up. You always have a great report for us. You're always on time. We can count on you. So thank you very much.
I try.
All right, great. Next up, let's see if we can get Deputy Martinez back on here if possible. Did he totally go away? I don't even see his...
He was here, then he signed back in again. Deputy Martinez, can you hear us?
Oh, there he is. Okay. Muted. Oh, you got a little, whatever that means. Orlando, your microphone is showing that it's muted. You can unmute it down on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. We'll see if this thing works. No? No?
I'm trying to see if I can... It says that you're unmuted. Maria said something about possibly your laptop may be muted. And Marcy says, check the volume on the laptop.
Okay.
It may be a glitch with your headphones.
Well, do you know sign language? Not tonight. All right. Now, this is a first, but we're patient people.
I can hear you. He's going to call in.
Okay, good. That'll work.
Okay.
That'll work. So, and has Officer Hallgren shown up in the meantime? I don't think he has.
No, he has not.
Okay. Well, we'll wait for Orlando to call in.
Okay, he just got into the waiting room. I let him in.
Let's see what happens.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Now, can he talk on the phone and show his face on the laptop or not?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, just wondering. All right, Orlando, are you out there?
Okay, now it's for sure muted. Can you unmute on your phone? If I could unmute you, I would.
All right, so we'll come back. He can work on that. Orlando, if you're able to break through, just start talking, and then I'll know that you're live and you've got your voice back. And then wherever I'm at in the agenda here, I'll come back to you. Okay? At this point, we have the 5th District report from Stephanie English. Stephanie?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, I'm here. You can hear me. Oh, there, is that Orlando?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, dear.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm going to set you down for a second.
All right, sorry about that. I have no idea what that was about. I've never had any issues. I use Zoom literally all day long, and I've never had this issue. So I'm not sure that my apologies for being very patient. As far as the stats, we did not get them. Unfortunately, our crime analyst has stage 4 cancer, which she has not been in, as you can understand. So once I get those, I will give them to you. As far as things to report, we are still making headway with all the marijuana grows, so continue to give us those good tips. We've been getting a lot of good feedback, and hopefully soon you guys, I can't say too much, but you should be seeing some progress, at least in the valley soon. The other thing that I want to bring up is social media. I got hacked about a month ago, and all my accounts got deleted. So typically when you guys post stuff up there and I'm able to respond to it, I have no idea what's going on with that. So if you guys are not calling the station, emailing me or calling me directly, I have no clue what issues you guys have going on right now. So the days of me monitoring the Facebook groups, which was never an official thing, it was just I was always on them, and being able to kind of, make headway before it became problems, that's gone for the time being. So you're going to need to email me or call me.
Okay.
Can you hear that or not?
Yeah, we heard all that. That's fantastic. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. And as I understand it, there's an introduction.
There's a what?
There's an introduction of a Sheriff Community Advisory Committee member that's here. Are you not aware of that?
I was not aware of that.
Okay. Well, this is great. This is wonderful. So, I will introduce Marcy Calman. Marcy's with us here tonight. She's been with us actually in the administrative meeting too. So, she's been eager to show up, and we're glad that you're here. Marcy, can you share a few words or thoughts that you have along with your new position?
Sure. So, hello, Deputy Martinez. We've met on a civilian call before, but I want to say hello to everybody because I am a new member of the Community Advisory Committee for the Sheriff Palmdale Station. So we meet with the captain once a month and we hold town halls, which I'll send a flyer for. The goal is to want to encourage you to use Deputy Martinez as much as possible, but if it is something that maybe you want to remain anonymous for and you just want the concerns of the community to be brought to the sheriff's station, that's something that I can do for you. I joined the committee because I feel that the rural community's concerns are not really being met, that primarily, and everyone else on the committee is from the city of Palmdale, so their concerns are heard quite a bit and ours are kind of dismissed. So that's the reason that I joined the committee, because I do believe that rural communities have different concerns. So if there are concerns, like I'm listening tonight about the illegal grows, of course that was Acton's concern last week as well. But if there are other things like that, I know that I've gotten some complaints about off-road vehicles and a lot of the accidents that have been happening, and the lack of off-road patrols seem to have gone down. And now that the cooler weather is here, I'm getting a lot of concerns about that. But certainly it can be anything that's a rural community concern that the Sheriff's Department could help with. I'd love to hear about it so that I can advocate for us.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate your commitment and efforts. Marcy's name is on the screen right now if everybody can see it, and if they can't, they can go to our website and pull up the agenda, and her contact information is there also. So we appreciate you being here tonight and look forward to hearing reports back from you as they are needed. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions for Marcy? Okay. Then I'm going to move on to 5th District report from Stephanie English.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I really don't have much to share with you tonight for a change. I will tell you that the appeal before the Board of Supervisors regarding Gardens of Paradise, I've been told that that will probably be delayed. And I know that the town council and the community is very interested in providing public comment. The scheduling, Mary watches that pretty closely with, you know, the agendas, but I will certainly let you know when it does come up again so that you have the opportunity to make the public comment that you wish. I think we've got some county staff on. I think I saw Oscar on. And so, Dawn, if you don't mind, if the county staff, the team is here, I'll let them answer some of the, bring you up to speed on some of the code enforcement and the other venues. Are you there, Oscar?
Stephanie, hi. Yeah, this is Oscar Amir.
Oh, great, Oscar. Why don't you kind of bring everybody up to speed on what our efforts are with the other venues and any other enforcement issues that you're aware of?
Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, the recent concerns have been regarding the unpermitted event facilities. So, yeah, we're looking at all the options to ensure that those properties are brought into compliance. And we have referred one location to county council so that they can consider that for possible civil prosecution, and that's the Sweetwater Springs location. Another location, Hidden Gardens, it looks like that's sort of their Facebook and Instagram pages are no longer working. So it looks like we may have made some progress there. We did talk to the owner. So apparently one of the new tactics is to say it's a family gathering, private event. So that makes it somewhat difficult for us because then we have to obtain evidence that in fact that, you know, there's a transaction, monetary transaction. So we're making progress. Unfortunately, it looks like there's a new event facility that appears. They're very popular. But yeah, I mean, my staff is working hard to ensure that those properties are brought into compliance.
And Oscar has been instrumental, guys. He's very perceptive. I talk to him pretty much every day. I feel like I'm bugging him, but he's on top of all these, and he's a good resource for all that. So your concerns are being heard. I know that at the Sheriff's Department, we've briefed the personnel and the command staff as far as response times to these locations, because I know a lot of these are time sensitive, and how to handle them so county council has a better, stronger case when they do take these to court.
And I know, thank you, Oscar. I really appreciate your engagement. I know the community does. And I know we have Josie here from Public Works as well. And Josie, I don't know if there's been any updates on your end at status quo. If you just want to, you know, touch base and say hi to everybody, let them know what's going on.
Hi, this is Josie Gutierrez, and I actually don't have anything to report at this time. We just we're getting into our rainy season now, so we're not there's no paving projects or any road projects in the works right now, but there should be something coming in early next year, so I will be reporting that probably in January or something. But basically, I'm here as your community services liaison. If you have any questions, anything related to Public Works, you can contact me. I'll put my contact information in the chat just so everybody would have it. But I know Mary Johnson, I've been in contact with her a few times, so I'm available. So feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Great. Glad you're here with us.
Thanks, Josie.
Okay. Stephanie, I have a question for zoning and Public Works and the supervisor's office, and I don't know what the county's stance is currently, but I've received a number of calls from people that are looking into accessory dwelling units or second homes on the same property under the same address. And I was then under the understanding that if they were in the high severity fire zone, that it was not allowed. And yet I heard that Governor Newsom passed a law that kind of dissolved all the zoning regulations, and I don't know what's true, what's what isn't true, what's rumor. But what are the answers to tell these people that are interested in either building another home on their property or having a granny flat, as it used to be called? Do we know what the current statute is on that?
Yeah, great question, Don. There's a tremendous amount of concern surrounding that, especially, like you say, for communities like yours, high fire severity and water issues.
Right.
Let me do this, Don, if you don't mind. Let me get you the fact sheet related to all those issues, and I have to reorient myself. I don't know if Oscar has any information on that, but I think, is that a link you just put in, Oscar?
Yes, it's the link to a summary sheet that
Great.
shows where they're permitted, where they're prohibited. As far as I know, nothing has changed. So our zoning code that regulates the ADUs, accessory dwelling units, is still in effect. I have not heard otherwise. So yeah, there's areas where they're not permitted.
Okay, so I can direct them to your site, and that basically will give them the information. There's a sheet there that they can look at. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, great. As long as they've got a contact to connect people to, that's all we can ask. So we appreciate you having the answer for us. And Stephanie, whatever information you can come up with after the meeting, it'd be much appreciated.
I think everything is right there. Oscar had it at his fingertips, so I think you've got what you need right there.
Perfect. Okay, great. Anybody else have anything for Stephanie or Oscar or Josephine?
Stephanie, can you shed any light on the rental information that we got that went to all the county residents? Just give us an overview, because that was something new.
It's a hot mess.
Okay.
Poor communication. We got a lot of calls in the office today, as our other field offices did it as well. What unfortunately we were told early in the day is that DCBA, Department of Consumer Business Affairs, was telling our unincorporated residents that even if it was a primary residence and they were not I guess, what's the term, a leasee, that they would still have to fill out the form, and then after the form was received, they would have to fill out an exemption. DCBA, Department of Consumer Business Affairs, is aware of the chaos this has created countywide, and they will be sending something new out. I would just encourage everybody to sit still. I'm tempted to be super honest, but I won't. Just sit still and know that it was a miscommunication, and it shouldn't have gone out like that. If you do have any concerns or issues, call the office tomorrow, 287-3657, 661-287-3657. We will get you directly linked to the DCBA folks, and we're keeping track of everybody who's calling. And I'm totally frustrated, embarrassed, and apologize for such lack of communication on the part of a county department like that. It was very unfortunate. It's created so much confusion. So the bottom line is truly nothing to worry about, but people don't necessarily know that when they get some kind of demand letter saying they have to register for some cause that doesn't even apply to them. So again, feel free to call the office tomorrow. We'll have DCBA call you back directly, but rest assured, if it doesn't describe you, you're not, leasing your house or renting a room, you don't have to worry about it.
All right. So we should pull it out of the trash can, but not fill it out and send it in just yet. Okay. Wait for the new version. Great. Anything else for Stephanie? Great. Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate you being with us tonight. I'm sure we'll have more questions as time goes on. Next up, we have California 38th Assembly District, Assembly Member Suzette Martinez Valadares. Her representative, Javier Reyes or Patsy. Is Patsy here? I don't see her on the list. Okay. If they show up, Javier or Patsy, let us know. They were here last time, I believe. And they can be contacted if need be. Next up, we have California 21st Senate District, Senator Scott Wilk. Scott, are you with us here tonight? I don't see him or it. Okay, Brandon. Yes, sir.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, good.
Good deal. I apologize for not being to these meetings as much as I probably should. Unfortunately, for some reason, Wednesday nights are a really popular night for meetings, so I always have a lot of conflicting stuff. But I want to introduce myself. My name is Brandon Roque. I was formerly with Assemblyman Tom Lackey's office. Now I'm with Senator Scott Wilk's office. One of the primary focuses I have is rural communities. Being raised in Acton for 20 years, I mean, you guys are near and dear to my heart. So would that be, or oddly enough, very similar? A lot of them are focusing on high fire severity areas and the limitations of what can and cannot be built in those areas. Very similarly to a lot of what SB 9 and 10 are doing, they're putting the ball in local jurisdictions' court with a lot of how things are being developed. But primarily SB 12, it's a bill that requires local governments, so counties, cities, things like that, to do an excessively extensive planning and outlining a list of requirements for these areas to develop, to be able to actually build, to be able to develop. And essentially it creates essentially it creates a list of requirements, planning responsibilities for local governments related to fire hazards prior to any development. So I don't have that list of requirements just yet. As soon as I get it, I'll make sure to pass it along. But it's another thing that, unfortunately, the way it's looking is going to limit the ability to develop in rural areas. And unfortunately, it's going to limit the sustainability of a lot of rural areas to keep us going, keep the infrastructure updated, things like that. So I can say SB 12 actually did not pass. It's still currently in the Assembly Housing and Community Development Committee. So it looks like it is being pushed onto a 2-year bill. So we will see some traction on that next year. But right now we're kind of just sitting with that one. Then as for SB 55, from my understanding, let me see what's going on with it. I actually, unfortunately, have no information on SB 55 right now, so I do apologize for that. I did see it on your guys' agenda, and unfortunately it slipped. But essentially, they're very similar in the circumstance that it's limiting the ability for developments in high fire severity areas, which, as you know, is pretty much our entire area, if not the vast majority of Southern California at this point.
Right.
Yeah, aside from that, I do have one bill that may interest some of you. I know, obviously, Acton and Agudal say we have a very large equestrian community. So something that Senator Grove has been pushing for a couple years now is specifically dealing with gross weight distribution for trailers. So for a lot of people that know, if you're towing any horse trailers above 10,000 pounds, you need a Class A license. A bill was actually just passed, signed into law on October 7th and filed, that was authored by Senator Grove, that actually waives that. So now if you have a Class C and normal driver's license, as long as you are towing a trailer for recreational use, it cannot be for commercial or for-profit use, but if you're towing a trailer that exceeds 10,000 to 15,000 pounds, you just have to take a basic test. As long as you get that cleared, you can use your Class C driver's license and still tow a trailer up to 15,000 pounds. You don't have to go get a Class A. Anything above 15,000, that's a different story. But that one did pass, so it is going to make it easier for anyone with horses to be able to move their horses, take a horse trailer out. And that's going to be SB 287. then I did have one other that you may or may not have seen. It's been making a lot of waves, and unfortunately, with legislative session being finished right now, we're seeing a lot of bills, both good and bad, making their way to the governor's desk. With that being said, one bill that was signed into law, and Senator Wolf did oppose it, is AB 1346. So essentially what this bill does is bans the sale of gas-powered lawnmowers, generators, chainsaws, and leaf blowers by 2024. And obviously, as we all know, that hits very close to home with the PSPS outages. I'm not sure how people figure to use an electric generator when the electricity is out. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, this one was one that was passed into law, and it is something we have our eye on. I'm praying something comes out of it and that gets turned around, because this is going to put a lot of people at risk that are subject to PSPS outages. People that need power rely on generators in the event that they lose power. They rely on them for anything with medical. I mean, obviously in our area, pretty much anything when it comes to even pumping water, you need electricity for. And if you don't have a gas-powered generator, well, you don't have water, you don't have power, you're in a pretty bad spot. So that's a very unfortunate piece of legislation that was just pushed through.
Brandon, what was the SB, what was the number on that?
That was going to be AB 1346.
And that was AB?
AB.
Yeah, AB, Assembly. And then the other one I have relating, this one's kind of a tie-in to, obviously, the marijuana grows and all the grow houses that have been a major issue in Acton, Aguadulce, and a large majority of the high desert. It's going to be SB 483. So unfortunately, this one, again, was signed into law. Senator Wolf did oppose it. It retroactively applies the elimination of 1 and 3 year sentence enhancements on repeat offenders for repeat drug offenses. So essentially, it makes every drug trafficker, drug dealer that has repeated drug offenses seem like a first-time offender.
Wow.
And I mean, obviously in LA County, we're not prosecuting a lot of people in the first place, so that's a dilemma in and of itself. But a lot of these grow houses, a lot of these people, they get busted 3, 4, 5 times. Every time, this bill would essentially eliminate any sentence enhancements for multiple infractions. And it's unfortunately another in a long list of things we've seen that are putting the citizens at more risk and protecting the ground. So those are just some of the bills that are making their way through. I believe I did have a statistic. I'm not sure if I still have it. Okay, I don't have the numbers for it, but it looked like out of all the bills that passed the legislature, I believe Governor Newsom had a 93% signage rate on all the bills going through. There were a lot of rough bills this legislative cycle. There were some good bills, but if there's any specific topic areas, anything you guys would like information on, please let me know. I can make sure the next meeting to be prepared, have some more breakdowns of anything you need.
Great.
So, Brandon, real quick, with the marijuana grows, we actually were having such poor convictions. Like, they would break down, they'd go issue the search warrant, you arrest everybody, it goes in front of the district attorney, and the district attorney was refusing to file charges. So we're no longer going after these guys with any California laws. They're doing everything federally and environmental. It's not even the weed that we're going after. So, I mean, with this being passed, there is some hope, if you will, because we're not even going that route. We're going everything federal, nothing locals, because the district attorney refuses to file on them. So we're taking everything to the federal level, which is part of the reason why it takes longer to hit. Where before the tempo was 5 to 6 warrants a week, that's not feasible when you're doing federal cases, because the amount of evidentiary substance you need for a case is much larger, and hence it slows down the tempo of what we can actually hit.
Yeah, and that's something, that's the big dilemma is, I mean, obviously a lot of the bills that are going through specifically relating to public safety, actually limit the enforcement of a lot of things, and it ties our law enforcement's hands, plain and simple. And then obviously LA County, we're seeing a lot more of that than other counties. So I am actually extremely glad to hear you guys are going on a different level and going for more of the environmental, because at least that there's less wiggle room there. So awesome. Thank you for the heads up. Cool. If there's not anything else, I'll be on for a little bit. I'll put all my contact info in the chat. And seriously, if you guys need anything at all, even at a personal level, if anyone's having an issue with a state agency, anything, franchise tax board, EDD, DMV, anything like that, send me an email. If it's something we can help you with, we'll make sure to do so. If it's something that we can't help you with, we'll point you in the right direction.
Great.
Awesome.
We appreciate that offer. And
Thank you, guys.
Seeing you next meeting. Thank you for showing up. Great. Next up, we have U.S. 25th Congressional District, Mike Garcia. Is Mike's representative here? I have Jackie Owens as his
I don't
liaison.
recall seeing her check in.
Okay, well, if she shows up, let me know, and we'll come back to her. At this time, we're at their presentations and discussions. And the first presentation tonight, excuse me, is from the Sleepy Valley Water Company. They have nitrate issues. And Chris Udall and Dan O'Connor are here to give a presentation. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to them.
All right. Chris, at this time, is in the United Kingdom. He had to go back to London. This to you in advance, but I didn't. But let me show you this for a second. Okay. I can't share the screen on anything, so I'll describe this. Pretty much everything immediately northwest of us, going up Sierra Highway, well under the MCL, in the fives. Someone across Steele Avenue, just to the north of us, is actually down in the twos. Ours are at 17 and 18, and it's obvious that something immediately around us has blown up, someone's septic or something else. So we're going to be letting the county know what we found out. All we can do is test everyone's wells in the neighborhood who are friendly to us. We suspect there's a couple properties immediately adjacent to our well lot. One's a member. I offered to service the septic for him, see if anything was going on, and he declined. And another is someone who's not on our system, has never answered a phone call, never answered a letter, a note in the mailbox, or anything like that. So pretty much that is our situation down here. And Chris just wanted me to update you on that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Have any questions? All right. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate the report and look forward to working with you on it.
All right. Thank you much.
Okay. Next, we have the discussion of community filming issues in Agua Dulce. And who's the lead on this presentation?
I'm looking for Gary Smith. Gary, are you on? Do you see Gary, Dawn, or Mary?
No.
Huh.
No.
I don't see Gary. But I don't, there could be a call-in number that I don't know. So.
Gary, if you hear us, you can unmute.
Sorry, ignore my little dog barking.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if he's there and we don't see or hear him, or I don't know if something happened. But let me just get this off by sharing that there have been a couple residents, and I see the Whites on the phone on Anthony Road, that have been concerned about the filming that has been occurring there. Salt Snake, which is a Universal production, has been there, I think, the last 6 months or so. Caravan West, in addition, has some small film shoot that they handle there. And so we've been working to try to see if we can mitigate some of those issues, but it brought up the broader filming issue for the Agua Dulce community. And Mary and Dawn, you're probably better at framing. I know this discussion was brought up probably years ago, and about kind of a community standard. And so it brought up looking at that again and examining what the community would like and the town council would like filming to look like in the area. You know, I think that the residents that I've been working with along Anthony Road, I hope and trust that they understand that I understand the impacts that they're facing, and whether that's 2 homeowners or 22 homeowners or 220 homeowners, if there's some kind of negative impact, we certainly want to be responsive to that. Title 22 requires that we be responsive to it. And so while we do know that filming is allowed on Anthony Road and at Caravan and at Firestone, we certainly want to work to mitigate any of those negative impacts. So without Gary and Film LA present, and again, I don't know what happened in the communication there, looking to see if I see anybody. That is kind of the status. We've been working very hard on this issue, but I'm sure there'll be some community comments. But Don and Mary, I don't know if you have some feedback or historical perspective you could put to this conversation.
Well, the one meeting I recall was down at the library in Valencia. It's about, I think it was about 6 or 8 years ago. And we had concerns community-wise, but at that meeting, and there was quite a few, you know, they had 5 people from the fire department, 4 people from building and safety, you know, just the whole, there was probably 35 people at that meeting. It was pretty much our concerns were covered by the regulations that are already in place from the filming institutions. So it was kind of, if they just enforced their regulations, we would be fine. I think the problem was the enforcement issue, and they were in the process of I don't know if they were coming up with a new plan or set of plans, but I think everybody left that meeting thinking that they were going to be the policeman. I mean, the whole key in all these situations is who's the policeman, who's looking after them. And I don't know that you can always please all the people all the time, but if you stay within the regulations or the requirements, that's really all you can ask of these businesses. When someone's out of zoning or out of compliance or being a bad neighbor, doing something that's affecting all the people close by, that's a whole different story. That's the lack of respect, and that's one thing this community I've found stands up against. So
I think most of the complaints, Don, were speeding, dust, noise, and like you said, it's hard to police those. They know that those are the main problems that we have out here, and some of the home crews just don't want to comply. And that's a problem with a lot of the residents, especially on Anthony Road.
Yeah, and I think it's always been a problem with Anthony Road. Number one, the road's so narrow, you know, it's not paved. It kind of zigzags back in there. And I think they had concerns even back then. So, to my knowledge, you know, I have not seen any new regulations or requirements that would allow widespread changes other than what was accepted or what was in compliance with what the regulations were 6 or 8 years ago. So if something's changed, I haven't been made aware of it.
So Don, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Agua Dulce Town Council never really adopted, if you will, for lack of a better word, kind of a standards like Acton has. And I don't know if you want to do that. But
no, actually, we started working with Acton. There was a group of people with Acton, and that's when this meeting was called down in Valencia. And it was, I think, the reason why the meeting was called was because a lot of the issues that we were concerned about, as Candy brought up, were covered in the actual regulations that were imposed on people that do the filming. And
Right.
so when we went to the meeting, it was kind of like, man, they've covered everything we were asking for. I mean, we had a couple other concerns as far as the filming on shutting down Sierra Highway. That was a big concern.
Yes.
It shut down Sierra Highway and the height, when there was a wreck on the 14 and now nobody can get home. So that was one thing that was brought up that did create some changes from what I'm aware of.
Okay.
But other than that, I think all the major issues were covered by what was already on the books. It was just a matter of someone policing them.
Okay.
Candy?
Right. Yes. That's the problem, is enforcing the rules that we did put in place with the dust, the driving, occasionally shutting down Sierra Highway or Agua Dulce Canyon Road. We gave them specific hours. They agreed with it. But, you've got some of the guerrilla shooting that we can't get to until somebody actually complains about it.
And I think that's a situation we've always had that issue. But Candy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was much more flagrant back then than it is currently. I mean, what do you see?
Absolutely it was.
Okay. Because the fine was less than they were getting paid. It's like we're going to fine someone $200, but they're going to make $20,000 a day, kind of like some of the local parks around the area. So anyway, I think it was more in policing and enforcement and coming up with a graduated law situation or fine situation where the first time, it's $1,000, second time it's $5,000, third time it's $50,000. All of a sudden you get their attention. So I think that was kind of handled at that meeting that was held down in Valencia with all the players from the county that were concerned about it.
Okay. Well, I think that barring Gary and Film LA being here to answer additional questions, and I still don't see them, I think that sounds like we will go back to focus on Anthony Road and continue to work to see what kind of mitigation we can bring to those homeowners there.
Seems to me like if it's going to be a continued use, I'm surprised they haven't gotten together and made them pave the road. I mean, yeah, it's going to cost a whole lot of money, but they make a whole lot of money. And so that to me, pave the road with speed bumps. I mean, I'm just a pump guy, but it seems to me like that would solve a lot of the issues. But then some people say we don't want the road paved because then people go fast, so you've got both sides of the aisle. But anyway, that to me, it just seems like the dust has been a concern up there. Fires are a concern up there too, because if the fire trucks are trying to get in there, people trying to get out with their horses, you got a log jam. All you need is one person not know how to drive with a trailer, and they're in a panic. The next thing you know, they get the road shut down, and now the fire engines can't get in there. So it just seems to me like some thought needs to be taken toward improving the road conditions. That's just my opinion. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you very much. All right.
Don, there might be some of the Anthony Road residents who want to chime in.
Okay. All right. Who do we have?
I would love to. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
I'd love to, throw some ideas here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Hi, everybody.
You're not a very.
I've had a very bad day, Don.
Okay. All right.
This is Christine, but yes, I've had a rough day. Yeah.
Go ahead.
In any case, really appreciate everybody taking the time, and also just like to say appreciate what the council does, to devote their time to helping the community and protecting our interests generally, and kind of sorting out some messes from time to time. I know it's not an easy task. One of the things that, when I started thinking about this is I really wasn't sure what the position was of the, I would all say, city council on filming, if there was a formal point of view or not. And I looked at the Community Standards District document, and that had a lot of great information of things that I assumed would probably be in there. There wasn't specific reference to filming, but it was clear that of paramount importance to the council and the community is, quote, protecting the secluded rural nature of the community. And that comes up over and over again because we do have something that's very special here and different, particularly in such close proximity to Los Angeles. And that makes it even tougher. And I think what we're looking at here is a bigger issue than just, dust mitigation per se on a particular shoot. Those are important issues, believe me, because we're hit with it hard up here. And also, to be, fair, the city council has to be concerned with the general area, not just specific aspects of it. And what we're looking at here in a bigger picture, I think has long-term implications that we really need to think about, because there's a creep that happens when you start to give in on certain fundamental ideological issues. Over time, they're eroded to the point you don't have them anymore. And I think that that's a real danger that we face out here. Now, specifically, we moved here 18 years ago, specifically for the environment in this canyon. It's a quiet, peaceful, beautiful place, and we need the A2 zoning to do what we do. We have a horse training stable, and to do what we want to do, we have to have the A2 zoning. So this has it. It's the environment we wanted. We love it here. We're in full agreement with protecting the rural nature of the community. And interestingly, I think that the county had foresight as well in enacting, the Title 22 and the zoning that we have works hand in hand with the stated purposes, in the Community Standards District of protecting that. Now, what happens here, though, is, again, over time, that's eroded, and it's not noticed all that much at the moment. But over time, it's a dramatic effect. Like I said, we moved here 18 years ago, and the filming was not an issue here. Over the next few years, Firestone started becoming more and more active, and it was really hard to know what was going on. We weren't being informed. Film LA wasn't informing us of what was going on. And it was pretty hard to figure it out. The traffic was getting worse and worse, and the impact on us was just getting completely inescapable. And it's gotten to the point now, over the last 10 years or so, if you look at the frequency reports Film LA generates and keeps on file, for the last several years prior to the pandemic, of course, when no film permits were being issued, there was an average of 2 productions a month on Anthony Road. Now, when you consider the prep time, the shoot time, and the wrap time for those productions, we're talking about almost full-time production. And that just, when you live here and it's right in front of you, it's totally inescapable. The traffic burden alone is almost unbelievable. For example, on this last shoot, Universal's been up there for over 6 months. They're done now, I understand. But for over 6 months, it was a major production. And one day, I chose a random day not too long ago, and I counted the traffic. I counted, keep in mind, on the approximately 3 miles of dirt road that is the dirt road part of Anthony Road, there's 8 houses, including Firestone Ranch. So you can imagine, you can sort of picture in your head what normal traffic would be for 8 households, okay? One random day I picked, I counted well over 300 trips of cars, trucks, obvious production support vehicles. I mean, this is an unbelievable increase in traffic on a narrow dirt road that is policed by the people who are causing the problem. Don, you mentioned enforcement's an issue. Absolutely it is. Because all we can do is call Film LA, and they don't do anything. And we can call the people who are causing the problem and ask them for a solution. It's the fox and the hen house situation. In fact, interestingly, it's the production companies who are assigned the responsibility of collecting the public input surveys prior to the issuance of permits to see what the barometer is on public input for the productions. Now, amazingly, you might find this amazing, we've never been given one of those because they know we're opposed to it. So they just pass us by, and they don't even get our input, okay? It's
Actually,
really an
Elliot.
incredible.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yeah, just a correction on that. There's another criteria. I think I will agree with you. It's arguably laughable, but the criteria is about distance from the film location, and you guys aren't within that distance. It's not because they know you're opposed, although I'm sure they do know you're opposed. But technically speaking, by the letter of the law,
we've been told explicitly that that's what's happening.
I'm sure. But the way they get away with it is based on the distance required for notification.
Candy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 600 feet or 1,000 feet from the chute. Is that correct? I think notification has. Go ahead. Candy?
That doesn't contemplate this kind of area.
Yeah.
That we've gotten past that to where after several years we are notified by Film LA that a permit is being issued. That has started to happen. It took another couple of years to get them to put us on their email list. But they have done that. But the point is, again, that we have specific issues with filming, particularly at Firestone. And that, I think, is a different discussion than this one tonight. Because I think what we're talking about here is something a lot more general, that the town council can weigh in on and decide what the point of view needs to be. Again, the best defense to maintain the rural standards that are so important out here, I think the best defense that we have is to team with the county to strictly maintain and enforce the zoning that is in place. It's there. We just need to really stand firm and enforce it. Now, again, to give you an idea, of how closely this meshes with what I think the town council included in your community standards. Title 22, the verbiage in Title 22, the purpose of agricultural zones. I'll read you this quote, it's very short. The agricultural zones A1 and A2, are established to permit a comprehensive range of agricultural uses in areas particularly suited for agricultural activities. Permitted uses are intended to encourage agricultural activities and other such uses required for or desired by the inhabitants of the community. That's terrific. Then it lists permitted uses: single-family residences, crops, field, tree, bush, berry, row, and nursery, greenhouses, raising of cattle, horses, sheep, goats, poultry, birds, earthworms, etc., animal hospitals, dairies, dog kennels, livestock feedlots, manure spreading, and oil wells, which is kind of interesting, but that's what Title 12 says, okay? Now, right now, filming is permitted to an extent, but I submit to you, I don't believe that the board or regional planning contemplated full-time production like is what's going on now. That's not what was, I don't think anybody
John,
envisioned.
this is Eden from Firestone. I would like to chime in.
All right. Thank you, Elliot. Yes, Eden?
I'm not finished yet.
Okay. All right. We'll give you a
Let him finish. That's fine.
Okay.
So, the question here, again, going back to this, uses required for, desired by the inhabitants. If this is desired by the residents, that's one thing. I don't think it is. I think there are some of us who are affected a lot more than others. But you see this kind of, there's zero benefit to the community is what it comes down to. The community gets significantly increased traffic and, and for us, even loss of income.
I'd like to chime in also.
Okay, we got a couple. If everybody can mute their mic until Elliot's through, and then I'll give you a chance to speak.
Yeah, Andrew, sorry.
I don't know how without it.
Okay, down there on the bottom left-hand side should be the mute, but okay, Elliot. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to, again, is, you read the verbiage of Title 22, and clearly what the intent is, who's benefiting from this activity? This is major commercial activity, and who's benefiting? Not the community. It's outside interests that are benefiting. Major, production companies like Universal, I understand, what they're trying to do, and they're playing within the system. I'm not accusing them of anything like that. I just think that the system needs to be, scrutinized. And is this what was intended? I don't think it is. And I would submit, that I would like,
Can I just chime in for 1 second? Elliot,
No, I'm not going to have any crosstalk here. Go ahead, Elliot.
Yeah, it's, again, who's benefiting? Major production companies, and there's a whole bunch of them. We have to have the same conversation a million times. When they come in, please do this, please do this.
Just one thought, Elliot, one thought. Have you thought of a way that you could benefit? Have you come up with any ideas, any type of compensation, anything at all to where it would be beneficial? I mean, something where you could come to a compromise. Yeah. I don't know. I don't live up there. I understand.
Yeah, no,
and it's miserable. But that's something that seems to me like, because it seems to me like if someone's taking advantage of the residents around, they're similar to like Gardens of Paradise, where they're basically abusing the residents that not only live close to them, but the ones that are 3 miles away. So it seems to me like if there would be some kind of benefit that you could come up with to where you could approach them. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to this is. But obviously, if they're playing within the law, at that point, even if they're against the law, trying to get someone to enforce the law around here is next to impossible.
Yeah.
So I understand your frustration. I don't see what exactly would you like the town council to do? Let me ask you that.
I would like the town council to include explicit reference to filming, in the community standards. Again, if this is what the community wants.
Elliot, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
You realize it took over 20 years to get minor changes instituted into our community standards district. So what you're asking for, I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen.
Okay, well, you certainly don't oppose, the intent and objective of Title 22. That's clear.
No, all I'm saying is we had some minor changes, and I mean, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 10 or 15 things that we were requesting in our CSD. We had community meeting after community meeting after community meeting. Out of those 10 or 15 that the community was actually in support of, how many of them got adopted, Mary?
Not nearly all of them, because the county, it did not comply with a lot of county standards. And we understand that we wanted to be a little bit different, but there are some things where we just couldn't be different.
Okay. All right. Because I'm just, and anybody from the council, if you want to chime in here, I'm open, because it's obviously frustrating for the whites and their community members. And we're trying to seek some resolution here. But Elliot, I think as far as something in our community standards district that's going to be added toward filming, I agree, that sounds fantastic. It's just, I know what it took. Like I say, it took over 20 years to have minor changes, and I mean very minor changes adopted and allowed by the county.
Yeah. No, forgive my ignorance of the bureaucracy and the protocols involved. I understand what you're saying, and that doesn't surprise me greatly, but it doesn't change the fact, that, if there can't be a formal, I think that in principle, the council could agree to that. Maybe not. I don't know. But, my point that, I'm trying to make to the county too, and we're in the process, of discussions on all of these issues, is, there is zoning in place. And a question that I have, and it's not a rhetorical question, it's what is the purpose of zoning? If it's not to standardize permissible activities, in an area, and we have it, it's in
place. Elliot, join the crowd. We've been trying to enforce the zoning all over the area. That's why we have Oscar here. It's right. It's like you throw zoning out the window. I've got a squatter, though not a squatter, but I've got a person that has a 1,500 square foot piece of property. He's managed to build a concrete driveway onto it, and he's got his motorhome and his work truck there advertising his business not more than 5 feet off the Sierra Highway. So we are all aware that people are getting away with murder when it comes to zoning infraction. Oscar's doing everything he can, but he's held up by the law. We always come back to the law, the law, the law. We argue the law. If they're not right, they don't argue the law. They argue the circumstances. So we feel your pain. I'm trying to find a solution.
Can I chime in?
Yes, please.
Dawn, can I chime in, please? No, it's Eden from Firestone.
I'm gonna let Elliot finish. Elliot, can you wrap it up in another 30 seconds?
Oh, sure.
Right.
Again, I think we have, a situation that's pretty clear, and what was intended has been abused, and I just have to believe that there is a way to fix that. As far as compensation, there's really nothing that can be done, that's going to, sufficiently compensate or mitigate the damages we're facing. It's this process itself is just so intrusive and disruptive. Unless you see it here, it's kind of hard to believe. That's why I started actually doing vehicle counts, because nobody believes, what the traffic volume really is. The noise is unbelievable. It starts at 4:30 in the morning and can go through all hours of the night. It is an absolute, 180 degrees from what's supposed to be happening here, according to everything I've been able to read, in zoning and regional planning. I think we just need to really take a good hard look at that and figure out what makes sense. And if the zoning needs to change, then there's a formal process for that. But any variance to the existing zoning, I think by definition, it needs to happen in a bright light with full community knowledge and involvement. And I'm not sure. In fact, I know that hasn't happened so far. But I think we need to get to that. I don't think that's being idealistic. I think it's looking at, what's been put in place, by our elected officials in order to protect all of us. And we just need to stick to that. We need to find a way to get to that.
Well, thank you very much, Miss. I appreciate it.
Can I add something, Don?
Yes.
Can I add something that we agreed upon? Yeah, can I read something that we agreed upon in that meeting back whenever it was in Valencia?
Yes.
Okay. The Film LA, so we got to hold Film LA to the fire here right now. This was agreed upon. Film LA will evaluate all requests for permits in this area using the following criteria: frequency of filming per block, near the requested location and parking areas, duration and frequency of recent filming, proximity of concurrent filming activities, historical use, recent problems or complaints, violations of county code, number of filming days requested, company size, proposed activities, effects, excessive noise, cranes, night filming, number of days with the use of outdoor lights, etc. Any other criteria that may be relevant to the specific situation. No permits for Agua Dulce will be allowed without the above criteria being reviewed. That was something that Film LA agreed to.
Okay. So, Elliot, that's we need to take if there's infractions there, your complaint is with Film LA. Okay, Film LA is laid out from Candy. If Candy can get you a copy of what was agreed to by Film LA, the Film LA needs to be approached with those regulations that they said they were going to enforce and find out what it's going to take for them to enforce it. Okay? Sound fair enough?
I think we certainly need to take that step, but you have to understand this is coming after years of phoning Film LA and complaining and having nothing done. Film LA exists to facilitate filming. They're there to process applications and facilitate the issuance of permits. That's their job. It's not to protect the community.
Okay. Stephanie, who is above, or who does Film LA answer to?
To the CEO's office and to our office.
Okay.
And, you know, we've been working closely with Christine and Elliot. And we'll continue. And I have not seen the document that was referred to and according to what was said, agreed to by your community, by Agua Dulce. So that would be, I would like to review that. And Mary and Dawn, if you have that, if you could forward it to me.
Okay, let's start.
I'd love to have a copy of that too.
Let's start with that document that's already been discussed. It's already been agreed to by Film LA. Let's start there and see what we can work off of there. Sound fair enough?
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Okay, good enough. Okay, so that ends the discussion on the filming.
No.
Yes.
Can I chime in, Don?
What do you have to add to this?
I have something to add as well.
Yeah, I would like to chime in here. First of all, when Elliot and Christine White bought the property, they should have done a little bit more research on how, when you even Google Agua Dulce, California, it is a film hub. Santa Clarita is a huge film area. So let's move on from that point. And then on top of that, that it's a little frustrating because when someone wants to keep the zoning of A1, A2, and specifically tells me to my face that I'd rather see this ranch sold and developed into a development like, with multi-houses to improve their property value. It's not about filming and them being set out. And this 2 productions per month was never Firestone. Ever. It might have been, we had maybe 2 or 3 of those, but Caravan West does a lot more filming than Firestone does. So when we are constantly under attack, I do understand this production that we just had was a big one, but at the same time, they were compensated. They were compensated on the loss of revenue they would maybe have had on training horses or giving lessons. So we try to work with them. We ask every production company to make sure they go 5 miles an hour. Firestone Ranch also pays $20,000 and $30,000 a year to maintain the road. We have talked about widening the road and maintaining the road. And then the question is, once you pave it, now it's not, people are going to drive too fast. It's a lose-lose situation for Firestone Ranch. They want to see this ranch developed into a multi-family unit. They don't want it to stay as a horse community. So
I have to correct that. That's just an out-and-out misrepresentation. What it was, Eden, is you told us that you had to let us continue to film. We had to let you film, or you were going to develop it.
We need to stop this conversation right now because there's going to be no cross conversation. Whoever's got the floor, okay, I'm gonna take
you guys. I agree, Mary. You guys, this is not productive.
No.
And we thank you all for showing up here. We're going to go on to the next subject.
Mark, I have something to add to that as well. I physically watched this production company go way above and beyond in trying to improve the road, trying for dust mitigation by having water. I'm the water truck vendor, and I'm a local resident, so the part about it does benefit a lot of local companies here when filming goes on in our town. I regraded, myself personally, regraded all of Anthony Road. We widened it, we improved it. I went over it with the fire department. We also put a whole nother access in so that there was a secondary way for people to leave that property if there ever was a fire. And now, I'm going to tell you from firsthand experience, and I'm not going to be nasty about what I say. I'm going to say it just like it is. Every time that we've come in there and tried, and the other neighbors have been most gracious and bringing us drinks and thanking us for improving the road, Elliot, myself had a few words about it because every time we're trying to do anything to improve the road so it's better for the whole community, we get met with negativity and hostility, and it's just a fight. It's very unfortunate. We're there to make, everybody has that, in the neighborhood was very happy with the work we were doing, but we were met with hostility from them anytime we did anything. And we weren't there to, make anybody's life miserable. We're there to try to improve and make it a better situation for everybody. We've tried to put asphalt grindings down the road to keep the dust down, and we're met with hostility about that. And it's every time we try
to do something. Can we get back to filming issues?
That is a filming issue. When
we're talking about grading the road, we need to stick to the subject on.
That is part of the subject. The same thing that he's complaining about, all these things were addressed and tried to be improved upon, were met with hostility and negativity from them. So that's got everything to do with what the complaint is.
All right. Well, listen,
there's problems having
I appreciate everybody's comment.
It doesn't benefit the community. Of course it benefits our community. Benefits the hardware store, it benefits all the rest.
And Mary, you got control. You can mute everybody, right?
All right.
Oh. Mary, why don't you go ahead and mute everybody?
So
I'm at that point where I'm going to. It's not just mute, I'm going to
have a half hour that we've been a half hour on this subject. So here's what I'm going to recommend. This part of the discussion is over. Candy has got the regulations and requirements that were agreed upon by Film LA. I'm going to ask Candy to share those with the Whites and anybody else and Stephanie English, and let's use that as a starting point. And from that point, we can build, hopefully, keep the dialogue open instead of, building up walls and fences, and maybe come to a solution here that will work. If it doesn't work, then unfortunately, that's why the laws are there. And I know the laws take time, but that's what they're there for. So, but I appreciate everybody showing up for tonight's meeting, and we had a lively discussion. And I appreciate your ideas, Elliot. It's just a matter of, it seems to me like that's in a select area, and it's something where if the people affected can be compensated or have their concerns met, I think that's the best way to go about it. And the fact that Film LA has agreed to these requirements and regulations, I think it's a matter of holding them to what they agreed to. So I think at that point it's a starting point, but that concludes our discussion tonight on the filming in Agua Dulce.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have President's Report, general portion. We had incoming correspondence for action. We had none. Incoming correspondence for notice. We have a couple items here as well. So it just, if that's a new standard, that's great. It seems like these things just happen overnight. Nobody has any discussion on it. Next thing you know, someone wants to drill a well because theirs went dry, and they find out they've got to go through regional planning. But anyway, I saw that here. I didn't mean to catch anybody off guard. Whatever information you can come up with before our next meeting, it would surely be appreciated.
No worries, Don. Oscar, you'll follow up on that, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. We've got a couple other items here. Most of them have to do with garages and covered porches. And we've got an application for a certificate of compliance. And on Harbor Road, again, they want referral for a water well drilling at an existing single-family residence. Next thing we have is for public hearing and community meetings. We have an update to the housing element of the Los Angeles County General Plan. It's project 2020-000606. Public hearing is at LA County Board of Supervisors, going to be held Tuesday, October 19th, which is next Tuesday at 9:30. So anybody who's interested in going or visiting on Zoom, they can find the agenda on our website. Next up, we have the Disaster Recovery Ordinance, Regional Planning Commission. That's going to be held October 27th at 9 a.m. And it's an online hearing. It can be accessed at the link that's also noted on our agenda, which is on our website. Gardens of Paradise, notice of public hearing, LA County Board of Supervisors is going to be held November 30th. I understand that's going to be delayed, Stephanie?
I didn't even know it was on agenda, so maybe I misspoke. That was my understanding, my unofficial understanding, but I think we stick with what we see on the agenda.
Okay, all right. Well, on the agenda here, it says November 30th, 2021, project and permit. It's got the permit number there, conditional use permit. Location, I think everybody's aware of, 32222 Agua Dulce Canyon Road. The conditional use permit was filed in 2012 to authorize a special event facility, caretakers residence, and related facilities. On April 2021, the conditional use permit for Gardens of Paradise was denied due to activity by Regional Planning's hearing officer. The applicant appealed the hearing officer's denial to the Regional Planning Commission. On July 21st, the Regional Planning Commission concluded that the conditional use permit is inactive as the applicant has not demonstrated any progress to resolve the outstanding issues as presented by staff. The applicant has now appealed that decision to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, which is his right. Currently, a hearing date has not been scheduled.
Oh, okay, I can weigh in on that. I should have taken that out. I did hear the November 30th date from Richard Cleghorn, who is a staffer, who is the one who's kind of fielding all my questions.
Okay, perfect. So by our next meeting, we'll know what the actual date is and if there is actually going to be a delay or any of the other details, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay, perfect. All right, that brings us to our open forum portion, which should be fun. We're going to hold everybody to a 3-minute limit exactly. And at this point, we're going to open it up to who would like to say something for that 3-minute time. At the end of 3 minutes, that's it. Okay? So who would like to go first? Just kind of wave your hand. Oh, Mary? No. Rosie. Yes, Rosie.
Why
you
not?
Have all the time in the world.
I've been waiting long enough. I will do it. I'll have something to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. And after 2 years of no elections, we're back on. That is wonderful news, I think.
Yes.
And there are 3 open seats for the 2-year term and 1 vacant seat for the 1-year term. 4 applicants filed in a timely manner, which are and they've been verified and eligible. Don Henry, Scott Keller, Chris Yodal, and Catherine Segura. Ms. Segura volunteered to fill the 1-year term, which is good, and she'll be running back again next year. October 23rd is the deadline for write-in candidates to submit the applications, required documents, and fees. If there are no write-in candidates, the 3 2-year terms will be filled with Don Henry, Scott Keller, and Chris Yodell. The 1-year open term vacancy will be filled by Ms. Segura. And there will be no election if that happens. And I thank you, everybody, for all your commitment and believing in me for taking care of this.
Rosie, you're one that we can trust in, and we appreciate all your efforts and commitment that you've put toward this community. It's much appreciated. Thank you very much. Who's next with open forum?
Don, I see Rochelle Silsby has got her hand raised.
Okay. All right. Yes, Rochelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Rochelle Silsby, and I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm with Southern California Edison. I'm a new government relations manager, and, I really just wanted to, introduce myself here. And, we provided a community update. It was back in the spring. And obviously, there's been a lot happening in this area in the meantime. In advance, I just wanted to thank everyone. I know that there's been a lot of work and construction going on in the area, but I think that, it's all been very positive. As many of you know from, our previous update, we've been installing about approximately 350 miles of covered conductor, on 9 circuits identified approximately in the Acton and Agua Dulce areas. We've also increased our segmentation and adding weather stations. That's all mechanisms that's going to help us to reduce the, the outage time that we're seeing from public safety power shutoffs. And I know the community's been impacted, and I, just wanted to say that we're working really hard on that. And I also have my colleague here, Ryan Robbins, who's our somewhat newer district manager for the area as well. And I think you're in excellent and really great hands with Ryan. He's been with Edison for quite some time, and he's going to be providing a little bit more information for you as well. So right now, just with, the current upgrades to our grid hardening program that we've done, so far it looks like we have a 75% estimated reduction in PSPS in this community. And then, overall, I think hopefully by the end of October, right, Ryan? I think we're looking at somewhere around a 97% reduction in overall PSPS outages. So, I think it's really great news. Ryan's team has been extremely hard at work doing all this work. So, I just, again, wanted to introduce myself and wanted to provide you with an update on how things are going. So, one of the other things I just wanted to mention really quickly is, if there is any information you're looking for, and if you're, perhaps not getting notifications, or hopefully everyone will be getting notifications, but if you're ever curious about what's going on, you can always check out our website at se.com/PSPS. And there you can find resources for all sorts of stuff. But with that, I'll kick it over to Ryan. I see there was a comment here. Oh, okay, that was for another subject.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Rochelle. My name is Ryan Robbins, District Manager. In one of the communities that I do serve is the Agua Dulce area. I've been a resident in this valley since 1989, so this is home for me. And I just want to say I truly appreciate the residents in the community really bearing with us and allowing to get the work done that needed to be done to effectively minimize and get us close to eliminating the need for PSPS as possible. There's always going to be a potential for PSPS. With all this work, we've really moved it to a last line of defense, and just truly appreciate the residents of the community. As Rochelle indicated, we are on track to see massive reductions in PSPS minutes, customer minutes of interruption. So I'm looking forward to when the Santa Ana wind events come, as we just saw earlier this week, everyone's still having their lights on. So thank you, and I really look forward to partnering with you.
Great. Appreciate you showing up tonight, Ryan. You and Rochelle both. We look forward to working with you in the future. Great.
Ron, can I just add really quickly? I'm sorry to jump in, but our office has a great working relationship with Edison, and of course we worked very closely with Liz, but Rochelle has just come right in and been extremely responsive, and she's wonderful to work with. And Ryan, I look forward to working with you as well. Just wanted to say hi, Rochelle, and provide that shout out.
Great. Thank you very much. We got to all work together on this.
Absolutely.
Good enough. Okay, open forum. Anybody else want to share something for a 3-minute limit? All right. Okay.
It looks like we've got somebody who put their hand up. Art is, I'm not sure.
Lowell.
Go ahead.
Lowell Gresham.
Yes.
Lowell Gresham.
Welcome.
Hi, Don. How are you? Thanks for the opportunity. I represent RTG and Agua Construction, and we're the ones that are developing the subdivision that has been a little bit of tension in the area. And we'd like to let you know that we're trying to bring water in here to help the community, which you're in the water business, and we're trying to bring that in and do our wastewater treatment plant also. And we'd like to cooperate with the community the best we can. Good or bad, I'd like to hear all the comments, and we'd like to cooperate and keep a relationship going with the community, so that we can improve our relationship with them, and we'd like to be of service to the community, and we'd like to know what their issues are. We would like to let you know that the people that are going to ride their horses in the area, the sidewalks and the trails that we put in are not just for the residents there of the new house purchasers, but for the residents of the community. Everyone is allowed to use those trails. We're bringing in 3 million gallon storage facilities, 2.5 million gallon tanks. We're bringing water in from LA Water, District 37, potable water, and a 20-inch water line, 14,000 linear feet of it. We'd just like to communicate with the community, and we'd like to be of service to them. We have a facility out here at 7535 Valley Sage, and welcome to come here, make arrangements with us, come here, and we'll give them a tour of our facility and show them our maps, our permits. We have everything that we need to go ahead and put these first 68 units in. And we just like to have a relationship with the community. The main thing, we have all of our permits to go ahead. We have construction slated to start in probably 2 to 3 weeks. We have fishing and game permits to take out our the brush abatement for the facilities to maintain the livability for the birds and the habitat that lives on our property. That's a big concern. We have a testing for our employees that they have to comply with. They have to pass to be able to be on the site environmentally. We have training for habitat recognition, and we'd just like to start a conversation with the community, because we're going to be part of it, and we want to make sure that everyone has a say and hopefully make some recommendations to us that they'd like to see in the community. We're not going to take the aquifer down. We're going to bring our own water. We plan on doing a wastewater treatment plant, which will facilitate probably most of aquadosing. We don't leave anything. We don't take anything away from the community, and hopefully we can be a good neighbor to you. And
as I understand it, got you agendized for our next meeting. So I think at that time, if anybody's got any questions, you're going to make a presentation, as I understand it. And if anybody has questions or concerns, we can bring them up at that special meeting. We're going to try and keep all the any other business information, put it aside, so that if we need to spend more time to devote toward this subject, we can do so. But so we appreciate you being here tonight.
Please
look forward to our next meeting.
And any of the information is on your site there, that they can contact us anytime they'd like to come to our office, make an appointment, and we'd be happy to service whatever we can to make the community aware of what we're doing.
Well, we appreciate that open hand.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to bring up in an open forum portion here for 3 minute maximum? Okay.
Hi, it's Eden from Firestone again. Can I speak?
If as long as it's not regarding filming.
No, yes, but no. I just want to say thank you to you and to Mary and to the community for being an open mic, sort of. Not necessarily on my part, but just want to say thank you for everything you guys do.
Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Good to have a nice word thrown our way. And we'll give you 30 seconds to do that. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Eden.
Absolutely. You know, we're part of the community too. We try to support the community as well.
Well, we've been able to work most everything out. So I think that's you know, that's what makes us a strong community. It's just the difference of opinions, and we come to a consensus and go over the different options and negotiate a good settlement. So hopefully that'll continue. Anybody else have anything to bring up here? Okay. That time we're going to go ahead and go through the, we've got our Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee. Measure W, Mary.
I'm going to turn it over to Peter if he has anything.
Peter here? Yes, there he is. Okay.
Yeah, I am here, and I noticed in the agenda references to the flooding situation in Acton, the recurring flooding there. And just wanted to let everybody know we've been, I serve as watershed coordinator, working with tree people, and we serve as watershed coordinator for the Upper Santa Clara River watershed area. We have been pulling together some resources, including engineer and designer, and we're going to begin work week after next identifying and analyzing projects for further development to move toward the Safe Clean Water Program and possibly some other funding sources as well. I just wanted everybody to know that we really see the recurring flooding situation in Acton as a very high priority. It was one of the first things we were introduced to when we began our work in the spring. And we will want to talk to local residents when depending upon how the schedules work out, probably ideally in December or January, but we recognize that we start heading into holidays, and I'm not sure what the meeting schedules are like. But I may check in with Mary to figure out what that looks like, so that we can share some thoughts and then get community thoughts and feedback and have the community involved early on in the process of trying to come to a solution. If it makes sense to use the town council as a meeting forum for this, so be it. But if we need to set up something separate, we can do that as well. And as I say, we'll work with Mary and Don to figure out what works best for the agenda. And of course, we'll be working with the Acton Town Council folks as well. That's the main update.
Great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Mary, anything to add to that?
No, there's a lot of money that's going to unincorporated areas that aren't anywhere close to Acton and I would all say, and the city of Santa Rita. And I'm anxious to get a project started in our area. And I think that the flooding along Crown Valley, right near the park, is a perfect opportunity to see what we can do to get some of that Measure W money in our area. So I thank Peter for moving forward with that, and that will be a starting point.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that report. Has anybody heard anything from Pam Walter in regards to the high-speed rail? If not, we'll move over to the committee reports. CHP Community Advisory Committee meeting. Candy, do you have anything to report?
No meetings.
Okay. Bylaws revision.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Election committee. Rosie already gave it, but Rosie, do you have anything to add to that? I thought she'd hold it until this, but Rosie, anything to add to the election?
No, I already did.
Great, you did.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
I shall do it again next year.
You're elected.
Okay.
Film committee, Candy.
9 shoots.
Okay. And Parks and Trails, Mary.
Nothing to report.
Water stewardship, we're all hoping that it rains. Wells are at their all-time lowest, but it seems like people are getting by. I know the water trucks are very busy. So hopefully we have a wet season and things begin to recover. Right now it's looking pretty dry. Ways and means, anything from Troy and Scott, if Scott's out there?
Nothing to report.
Okay. disaster planning. Anything from Gary? Is Gary around? I don't see his name. But, we're getting toward that season. I'm sure he'll be at our next meeting to give us an update. Acton Town Council Liaison, Lillian. I see you're there, but you're muted. Can you hear us and unmute?
Actually, I see she put in the chat that the Acton Town Council is working on getting more information about the trash franchise, dealing with SCE, considering the disaster recovery ordinance, the water plan, the climate safety plan, the Department of Energy request for information regarding utility scale solar generation and trails. The Acton Town Council also has created an education committee to keep track of the school district and school board activities.
Thank you, Lillian. We appreciate that. Announcements. Public Works and Building and Safety public counters are open for business again. So if you want to walk in there, you can do that now. It's not confined to doing it online. Household hazardous waste and e-waste collection, the first and third Saturday of each month, closed holidays. It'll be between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. at 1200 West City Ranch Road in Palmdale. If anybody needs directions, they can go on our website and pick up that address and Google it, and that'll get them there. It's also a free mattress recycling. You can drop your mattress off and pick up somebody else's. And that's at October 16th at the LA County Public Works Yard, which is on Sierra Highway. Association Rural Town Council's meeting is October 27th this month, and our next regular town council meeting is going to be November 10th. Any unfinished business? I don't have any listed here, and new business. We're going to carry on to the next meeting. Future agenda items. RTG Investments is going to be here, formerly known as Casulas Project. 2 tracts of 68 homes on 164 acres and 247 homes on 742 acres. So that should bring a good showing. They're going to be bringing in municipal water and installing sewers and wastewater treatment facility. Cali Lakes, I believe, is still involved with their conditional use permit. Haven't heard any update on that. And LA County Public Works trash collection contracts. I believe that we're going to have them make a presentation to us sometime next year. So we look forward to having that happen. That's all I've got on the agenda for tonight, except for someone wants to make a motion before we adjourn.
Before you do that, Don, I just want to thank Oscar Gomez for attending tonight. It was great to have him here, that we could weigh in and throw some questions his way. And also Rochelle, I'm glad to put a face to your name. I'm glad you're part of it, and I'm happy that the grids are being upgraded and looking forward to continuing to have the lights on.
Yes, and Josephine was here from Public Works. We thank her for being here also. So we look forward to working out some of these details that we have that are plaguing our community. We appreciate their interest in answering our emails and responding by showing up here tonight.
And sorry the meeting got a little out of control. We try to keep it as dignified as possible, but it was tough to keep hitting that mute button, I'll tell you.
Yeah, okay. Well, we appreciate everybody's participation, and if I can get a motion to adjourn this thing from...
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Candy, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Vince, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We'll see you next month.
Good night, and thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, John Boy.